Hi, my name is Courtney Garza, and for my final presentation, I'm going to be doing the life and art of Pablo Picasso. So what is important about Picasso? He was one of the most dominant and influential artists of his time. He had the most sculptures, artworks, paintings sold out of all the other artists that were relevant at that time. He was an inventor of art styles. One of the main art styles that he's known for is Cubism. He also had certain phases that he would go through when he was painting. He had a blue phase, a red phase, where all of his pictures were red or blue, which all kind of led up to the style of Cubism. He also used his culture and what was happening around him to influence his art, and we'll touch on that a little later. So some background information and fun facts about Pablo Picasso. He was born October 25th, 1881 in Malaysia, Spain. He was taught by his father starting at the age of 7. Fun fact, his father was also an art teacher, and he was also a curator at a museum. Also, he finished his first drawing at the age of 9, which is pictured here it's called the Le Picador. You can see his little Spanish culture influenced here with the horses and his outfit with the hats. It clearly shows the Spanish culture. And also he studied art in Paris at the Applied Art School. Some fun facts about Picasso. He learned to draw before he could speak, which is pretty impressive. And when he was born, they thought he was a stillborn until his uncle blew some cigar smoke in his face. And during that time, cigars were really popular to be smoked all the time. So it was only natural that he was smoking during the birth of Picasso. So they laid him down after he was born because they thought he was a stillborn. And his uncle walked over, blew some smoke in his face, and then voila, they realized that he was alive and well, and there was born Picasso. He was also a terrible student. He didn't like being told what to do. He was very innovative. He liked to push the limits. He always wanted to strive for the next best thing. And he began with a studio on a hill. This is a picture of the Sacré-Cœur where his studio was painted, or where his studio was held. As you can see clearly that it's on a hill. This is what it looks like modern day. So the people, you could tell that he was an important artist of that time because people would climb that hill, and they wouldn't matter what type of weather it was, if it was hot, cold, rainy. They would climb that hill, and just to see what he could do, and just to see how he drew and his artists and illustrations. Now, continuing on to the evolution of Cubism, which is a style, like I said, he is mainly known for. He worked closely with his friend George Braque, who found him based on one of his paintings that he did. He saw his painting and realized that he wanted to be friends with that person, and so then started their friendship relationship. And they would learn from each other, and they embarked on a journey to improve each other's art and learn new things. So they were constantly striving to be the best. Together, they created the form of art known as Cubism through collaboration. So they worked together, and they figured out this sort of abstract style, which is known as Cubism. Here's a quote from Picasso. Let me go back there. Whereas almost every evening, either I went to Braque's studio or Braque came to mine. Each of us had to see what the other had done during the day. So they continued comparing and contrasting different styles of art forms. And if you do a little research on Braque, you can kind of see the similarities between the two. And when Picasso used Cubism, he illustrated not how the object looked literally, but how he viewed the object, which is very important when looking at his art. You want to see how he viewed them and not how they literally look, so you can kind of see some messages, hidden messages in his art form. And the style of art was his greatest accomplishment, which is basically, what he was known for. Here on the left is a self-portrait, or not self-portrait, he is a portrait of Gertrude Stein. When he drew this picture, the book references that he had not actually drawn anyone since he was 16, and he was 24 at the time when he drew this painting. Another known fact about this painting is that she had to sit there almost 90 times in order for him to get it right, and he actually ended up not getting it right. That she left and he put the painting to the side. He was struggling with the head, and so when he came back to the painting months later, he finished the drawing without her sitting there, which led to his style, which he is most famous for, the Cubism. So as you can see here, the eyes kind of resemble the eyes in the Cubism form, as seeing as one is smaller than the other. And here you can see in his self-portrait that he drew this self-portrait when he was 90. So going back to what I said earlier about how he drew how he saw them and not how they literally were. So here you can see his Cubism, how he sees himself. Maybe could be, he's old, he's getting older, he has wrinkles. You see the wrinkles right here. His one pupil is bigger than the other. Could show that maybe he's going a little crazy because he's getting old. You can clearly see his little hairs right here. His nose is quite large. Maybe he saw himself as having a huge nose when he in reality had a normal sized nose. But you can clearly see the differences between the two styles of paintings. Moving on to how history affected Picasso's art. In the Spanish Civil Wars in 1937, the Nazis, which were led by Hitler at the time, bombed the town Guernica as like a military practice. They did these bombings over a two-hour time period, just dropping bombs on innocent people. When Picasso heard about this, he was enraged. He was outraged, really. More than 1,600 people were killed, and I'm sure many people were injured. But this next illustration is the actual painting Guernica, which is influenced by the bombings that happened in the town Guernica. As you can see, that the painting is black and white, which shows that it shows brutality and suffering and darkness. It represents what happens during war, or it's a reminder of war. Here you can see the people. Let me get the pointer out. You can see people suffering. Right here, people are wailing out, I guess, in pain, or it's basically representing a bunch of innocent people that got hurt. Now, this painting was actually one of his most famous paintings. It brought light to the rest of the world as to what was happening in Spain at that time, the Civil Wars, for example. And it was a reminder basically of the consequences of war. Basically, innocent civilians, they were hurt during the war, or during the bombings in specific. The main bull right here, you could kind of see, even though it's clearly a bullhorn, you can see that represents the Spanish culture. Right here, he's being impaled. It looks like he's being impaled. But you can clearly see his cubism in here. It's very abstract. Cubes, not necessarily cubes, but more of a collage, you could say. So continuing on, what is his culture significance? Picasso influenced future art styles and modern art of today's time. Without his determination and persistence on creating something new and great, we probably wouldn't have the same kind of arts that we have today. One may say looking at his artwork is confusing, but his innovative style paved the way for other artists to strive for the same greatness that Picasso had in his own movement. Also that paved the way for artists to kind of make their own movement. Like Picasso had the Cubism movement, so that kind of paved the way for other movements to come. And he used his art as a way of expression and was able to bring light to the war that was happening in Spain. From a young age, we know that he started his self-expression form very young. And so him being able to express himself through his art was a great visual tool to have. His artwork is famous all around the world, and it's wanted all around the world. Like I said, the main painting, Guernica, was the main painting that that explained the realism of what happened during wars. And he was never afraid to take chances or experiment with new styles. He loved to challenge himself, which is also a great lesson for us today. You can't be afraid to take chances and to kind of push your own limits. And I want to close out with a quote. This is one of the quotes that stood out to me. It says, from Picasso, "When I was a child, my mother said to me, if you become a soldier, you'll be a general. If you become a monk, you'll end up as a pope. Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Picasso." This quote shows significance in life today because it shows us that even you shouldn't let the world tell you what you want to do. Always go for the best. If you're gonna be a painter like Picasso, be the best painter you can be. Or if you're gonna be a lawyer, be the best lawyer you can be. And so on and so forth. So thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you guys have a great day.